Every morning, Lucy stepped into Sunrise Groceries with a bounce in her step and a smile on her face. The store itself wasn't large, just a handful of aisles lined with cereals, canned goods, produce, and household basics. A few bright fluorescent lights hung from the ceiling, illuminating white linoleum floors that squeaked faintly whenever a cart rolled over them. It was a simple store, in a simple town, but Lucy was anything but ordinary. She was the new cashier, known not just for her quick hands at scanning items, but for being what her grandmother had called gifted with words. Lucy loved to talk to people, to greet them with warmth, and to make their day just a little brighter before they stepped back out into the world. I wonder who I'll meet today, Lucy would often muse as she took her place behind the counter, the register screen glowing fluorescent green under the overhead lighting. She truly believed that every customer had a story. Some were cloaked behind weary eyes, others behind hurried steps. But Lucy had a talent for coaxing out a smile or a laugh, even from those who'd come in with a storm cloud overhead. She had started this new job only a couple of weeks earlier. On her first day, the manager, Miss Alvarez, had greeted her kindly. "Enjoy your time here," Miss Alvarez told her, a faint grin on her lip. "We get a lot of regulars, plus a few new faces. Just do your best. You'll be all right." Lucy had taken that to heart. It was more than a mere job to her. She saw each time she rang up someone's groceries as an opportunity to connect, to give a little light in an often dark world. As Lucy settled into her role, she began to notice the receipts. They were so plain, just black text on thin white paper, items, prices, taxes, total. "It's like reading a sad poem," she thought one day, as she tore a receipt from the printer. The customer in front of her was a man in his late 40s, who always came in wearing a baseball cap and left with the same stoic look on his face. She offered him the slip with a polite, "Have a wonderful day." He barely nodded, slipping the paper into his pocket as he left without a word. That night, Lucy found herself thinking of a way to share her bright spirit with others in a small, tangible form, something that might reach them once they left the store. She remembered how her grandmother used to tuck little notes and quotes into her lunchbox as a child, bits of encouragement she would find at noon, right when she needed it most. Yes, Lucy thought. Maybe it's time I borrowed my grandmother's idea. The next morning, Lucy brought a small notebook and a pen to work. During her breaks, she wrote down short messages, encouraging thoughts, uplifting quotes, or simple reminders to take care of oneself. Some lines came directly from her grandmother's old diaries, others were Lucy's own inventions. By lunchtime, she had about 20 unique phrases. "Keep going, you're stronger than you know." "You deserve happiness, don't ever doubt it." "Believe in your own magic." "Your mistakes don't define you." She derived a new wave of energy from her idea and found herself eager to try it on the next customer who came through her line. So she asked Miss Alvarez if it would be acceptable to type a brief message, just a few words at the bottom of each receipt, right where it typically displayed a thank you note from the store. Miss Alvarez smiled and shrugged. "I don't see any reason why not, as long as you're not printing anything inappropriate. Sure, give it a go." Lucy grinned from ear to ear. It felt like a small victory and another opportunity to share a bit of kindness. The extra space on the receipt was typically reserved for a generic, "Thank you, please, come again." So Lucy decided to swap that line out. On the systems manager terminal, she replaced the standard text with one of her short notes. As a first test, she chose, "You are loved, keep shining." When Lucy gave the first customer of the afternoon her receipt, the older woman noticed the different text as Lucy said, "I hope you have a lovely day. Check out the note there on the bottom." The woman squinted at the small print and her eyes softened. She softly mouthed the words, "You are loved, keep shining," and nodded at Lucy with a silent tear brimming in one eye. "Thank you," she whispered. "I needed that more than you know." That moment confirmed for Lucy that she was on the right track. Each day, she'd change up the note that appeared at the bottom of the receipts. Sometimes she picked a powerful statement, like, "Your tomorrow can be anything you want it to be." Or a gently humorous note, such as, "Don't forget to smile, the world needs your grin." Or a whimsical line that read, "Kindness grows best in unexpected places." Word started to spread through town in the quiet way rumors do. A few folks began mentioning that the new cashier left sweet, short messages on receipts. Some people started shopping at Sunrise Groceries simply because they wanted to read the newest note. One middle aged man came in specifically to show Lucy a well worn piece of receipt paper from a week earlier. I've been carrying this around, he said, patting his chest pocket. It says, "You only fail when you stop trying." I was in the middle of quitting a big project at work, but that note gave me the last push I needed. And guess what? I powered through, finished on time, and got a promotion. Each new testimonial filled Lucy's heart to bursting. She sometimes felt the sting of tears behind her eyes when she realized that her small gesture was making such a difference. She'd never considered herself someone who could change lives. Yet, in her own gentle way, she was doing just that. The store's foot traffic picked up as more and more people heard about the uplifting messages. At first, Miss Alvarez jokingly called Lucy the affirmation fairy, and Lucy would laugh, a little self-conscious, but mostly delighted that their small grocery store was becoming a place of comfort and hope. Mrs. Alvarez adjusted quickly and ensured Lucy had space to thrive. The manager rearranged schedules so Lucy could work the register more often, knowing customers came specifically to see her. Then came a particularly quiet Tuesday morning. Lucy had enjoyed the lulls. They gave her time to think of new messages and tinker with the store's messaging system. As she scribbled in her notebook, she noticed a teenage girl standing by the magazine. The girl barely moved and seemed to be staring off into space. Lucy called out, "Hi there. Need any help?" The girl turned and gave a half smile but said nothing as she brought over a small bottle of water to purchase. Lucy started checking her out. "Thanks for visiting us today," Lucy said softly. The girl placed some folded bills on the counter. There was a certain heaviness in the girl's gaze, so Lucy pressed the receipt button a bit more firmly than usual, wanting to make sure she had a chance to see the note. That day's message was, "One small positive thought can change your whole day." As Lucy handed the girl her change, she added, "There's a little something at the bottom of your receipt." The girl glanced down and her lips moved to read the line. Then she blinked, as if forcing back tears. She didn't say anything, but Lucy saw the handle of determination in her eyes, like someone clinging to a lifeline. She slipped the receipt into her pocket, nodded a silent thank you, and left the store. That evening, Lucy couldn't help wondering about the girl. She wanted to believe that the message might have helped in some small but meaningful way. Ever since Lucy had started printing the notes, she'd seen countless variations on that same reaction. A hitch in the throat, a softening of the face, or sometimes just a tear that never quite fell. Each time, Lucy thought of her grandmother, who'd begun all this generosity of spirit by writing notes in a child's lunchbox. A few words, Lucy realized, can go a long way. One busy Saturday, Lucy was rung up by the joys of commotion. Lines stretched 3 or 4 customers deep, and baggers were rushing to and fro with plastic or paper bags. She could sense a tense atmosphere creeping in, with customers fussing over how long each line was taking. Yet Lucy's register still drew its usual crowd. Some looked annoyed, but others seemed genuinely curious about the cashier who typed secret messages onto receipts. Lucy worked methodically, trying to keep her chatter light, though she couldn't resist offering genuine pleasantries to each person. Among that day's many customers was a tired mother with 2 young children in tow, fussing loudly about candy bars and cookies. The mother looked like she hadn't slept in days. Lucy noticed the faint, dark circles imperceptibly tinted beneath her eyes. While scanning their groceries, Lucy smiled at the children, asking them about their day at school. They each rattled off simple answers, but it was enough to calm them for a moment. She then rang up the rest of the items and said to the mother, "Looks like you're all set. There's a message on the bottom of your receipt, just that little extra store note, you know. Have a wonderful rest of your day." She handed over the receipt, knowing today's message read, "You have the patience of a saint. If you've forgotten that, here's your reminder." The woman glanced down quickly and let out a quiet laugh that bordered on a sob. She mouthed thank you to Lucy, blinking back tears as she ushered the kids out. Even in that fleeting moment, Lucy saw how such a small note could provide a breath of relief, an acknowledgement that yes, being a parent was hard, and yes, she was doing a great job nonetheless. Sometimes a few lines of text simply recognize someone's struggle and praise them for making it through another day. It reminded Lucy of the power of empathy, how essential it was to see people for more than just the groceries they placed on the conveyor belt. Over and over, customers looked at their receipts as if they'd stumbled upon some hidden treasure that told them, "You matter." One Monday afternoon, an older man came in. He was Tom, a widower Lucy had seen around town but never officially met. He had a carefully groomed mustache and wore suspenders, which gave him a distinguished yet gentle air. He came to Lucy's line with a single bag of apples. She greeted him cheerfully, but it took him a moment to notice her. He seemed preoccupied, eyes distant. "How are you today?" Lucy asked. He shrugged. "I've been better." He sighed and then turned to face her as if deciding he would speak. "It's my wife's birthday this week. She passed away last year, but I still buy apples for her favorite dessert, apple pie. I guess I like feeling as if I can still do something for her, you know?" Lucy's heart twinged. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said gently. "I hope making that pie or just having apples around keeps her memory close." He nodded. After Lucy scanned his apples, she handed him his change and receipt. Today's message was, "Loved ones never truly leave us. They live on in our hearts." As he read those words, he stepped away from the register, and Lucy could see tears trembling on his lashes. A slow, fleeting smile appeared on his face. "Thank you," he said hoarsely, pressing the receipt into his shirt pocket. "That's such a good reminder." He walked away with a bit more steadiness in his stride than before. Lucy breathed out, thankful that she could give him a measure of comfort. Just another testament to how these simple messages had grown into a meaningful ritual for so many customers. Over time, the messages took on a life of their own. Some folks collected them, stashing receipts in their wallets or pinning them to corkboards in their kitchens. Others passed them along to friends or stuck them on break room bulletin boards at work. A chain of positivity slowly stretched across town. People began to greet each other with a little more warmth, as if the very act of anticipating a message made them more open, more receptive to kindness in general. Several weeks later, Lucy stepped into the store, greeting Miss Alvarez with a bright grin. "I've got some new lines queued up," Lucy said. "I can't wait to see which ones help people today." Ms. Alvarez smiled back. "Well, good luck, affirmation fairy." The day started off normally enough, with the usual stream of early shoppers picking up essentials on their way to work. Lucy was in an especially cheerful mood, humming as she scanned items for an elderly friend, Mrs. Jenkins. Then, just after 10 a.m., Lucy noticed the teenage girl from weeks ago walking down aisle 3. This time, the girl approached Lucy's register with a soft determination, placing a small potted succulent and a packet of seeds on the conveyor. Lucy beamed. "That's a lovely little plant. What made you choose it?" The girl brushed back a strand of hair from her face. She spoke in the quiet tone Lucy remembered. "I want to try taking care of something. I've never grown anything before." She paused, then continued. "I just need hope. Something to look forward to." Lucy nodded in understanding, scanning the items. "I think that's wonderful," she said. "Sometimes having something that depends on you can remind you that you're needed." The girl paid, and when Lucy handed her the receipt, she saw the day's message. New beginnings grow from small seeds of hope. The line was so apt, so serendipitous, that it felt like fate. The girl looked directly at Lucy, her brown eyes brimming with conviction. "I saw your receipt note a few weeks back. It said, 'One small positive thought can change your whole day.' I was going through a rough time then, but those words, it felt like someone believed in me. It gave me a reason to keep trying." She inhaled shakily, a flush rising in her cheeks. "I don't know if that seems silly, but I wanted you to know." Lucy's throat tightened. "Not silly at all. Thank you for sharing that with me." She gently squeezed the girl's hand on top of the counter. "It means the world to me that you're here and that you're telling me this." The girl tucked her receipt carefully into her purse. "Keep doing it, okay? Keep sharing these messages, she said. They matter more than you know. Then she left, succulent in hand. That evening, Lucy recounted the story to her father over a plate of leftover casserole at their modest home. With shining eyes, she told him how the girl had returned and shared her gratitude. Her father listened with a proud smile. Isn't it wonderful, he mused, how small personal gestures can weave into people's lives in ways we never expect? Yes, Lucy whispered, remembering all the faces, all the grateful looks and teary eyes from so many customers. It grounded her in determination to keep going. She added a few more thoughts to her small notebook, new ideas for messages she'd print in the coming weeks. Now she wrote them with renewed passion, acknowledging that they weren't just words. They were bridges reaching out to souls in need. One late afternoon, as Lucy was finishing her shift, a local teacher came in, beaming widely. She explained that she'd been saving Lucy's receipts and reading them aloud to her students each Monday morning. The teacher revealed that the kids had started writing their own positive phrases and trading them with one another in class. I just wanted you to know your idea has grown beyond this grocery store, she said. Lucy couldn't hold back her tears that time. She was so happy that something that began as a simple experiment had blossomed into a movement of kindness. But not everyone welcomed the chatter at the register. One day, an impatient businessman approached Lucy's line in a rush, a tapped foot betraying how pressed for time he was. He hardly acknowledged Lucy's greeting and hurriedly gave cash for his items. When Lucy handed him his receipt with the day's printed line, "Slow down, breathe, and remember life's sweetness," he barely glanced at it before crumpling it into his coat pocket and stalking off. Lucy wondered if she was overstepping. Could some patrons just want to pay and leave without being forced into an emotional conversation? She conferred with Miss Alvarez. I just don't want to bother anyone, Lucy said, face etched with worry. Miss Alvarez gave her a quiet smile. You're not forcing them to read it, Lucy. You're not charging an extra fee for positivity, she joked, eyes crinkling at the corners. Besides, for every person who doesn't want it, there are 100 who do. Lucy nodded. She took that to heart, forging ahead with her daily messages. It wasn't often that she had a dissatisfied customer, and she came to accept that you couldn't always light up every heart, but you could certainly shine for those who were ready for it. By early autumn, Lucy's messages had become a local phenomenon. Sunrise Groceries saw new visitors from neighboring towns, each curious about the little bit of extra one might receive with a purchase. Some days, Lucy found herself writing custom messages directly for customers who shared pieces of their lives. Like the man starting a new business venture, she gave him a personalized receipt that said, "A strong dream needs just one believer to begin." Another time, a grandmother who was about to meet her newborn grandson received a note that read, "A new baby is a reminder that life always finds a joyous melody." People began leaving handwritten notes for Lucy in return, placing them under the counter or handing them over with a grateful grin. She collected them in a small wooden box at home. Some wrote thanks. Others recounted how a specific receipt had helped them stand up after a heartbreak, or carry on through depression, or reconcile with a friend after feeling alienated. Lucy kept every single note. They were her personal treasure, proof that hope and encouragement could travel so much farther than one might assume. Then, on a crisp Saturday morning, Lucy arrived to find Miss Alvarez waiting for her near the back office. She carried a small gift bag and motioned for Lucy to come closer. Inside the bag was a handmade plaque from all the employees. Etched on it were the words, "Little messages, big impact. Thank you for speaking to our heart." Lucy's throat tightened as Miss Alvarez patted her shoulder. "You bring so much light to this place," Miss Alvarez said, her words soft yet sincere. "We just wanted you to know we see it, and we appreciate it." Lucy felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I'm just so happy I could do something meaningful here." Miss Alvarez nodded. "Believe me, Lucy, you already have." That day, Lucy's heart felt like it was floating on air. She posted a new message on the receipts. Never underestimate the power of a kind word, appropriately capturing the spirit of her entire endeavor. The day flew by in a stream of warm smiles, cheerful stories, and heartfelt exchanges. At one point, a shy college student came in to buy instant ramen and notebooks, flipping her phone around nervously before paying. Lucy noticed the girl had tears in her eyes as she stared at the note. "It's so funny," she said, swallowing hard. "I was feeling all alone here in a new town. Reading something like this, it makes me feel seen." Lucy gently touched the back of her hand. "You are seen," she said, her voice steady, "and you'll find your way, believe that." As the weeks turned to months, Lucy's routine continued. Every day, she would arrive with a new set of uplifting messages ready, each carefully chosen. Story after story emerged, weaving together a tapestry of hope that extended far beyond the confines of Sunrise Groceries. Some folks who had never set foot in the store heard about the cashier who shared encouraging notes and decided to shop there simply to see what the fuss was about. Others who had moved away wrote letters back to Lucy, explaining that they still had her old receipts in their wallets as daily reminders. One evening, close to closing time, a group of teenagers rushed in, giggling and scanning the aisles for last-minute items for a study party. Lucy recognized a couple of them as customers who would read the messages but hadn't spoken much. This time, they broke the ice, showing her a binder where they had collected all sorts of inspirational phrases, some from Lucy's receipts, some from other sources, and even some they'd written themselves. "We started calling it our Words of Light binder," one of the teenagers said. "Whenever one of us is feeling down, we flip to a random page and read something. Sometimes it's exactly what we need." Lucy couldn't keep the grin off her face. "That's so creative," she said. "I love that idea." They paid for their chips and sodas, and as Lucy handed over the receipt, she told them, "Here's a fresh line for your binder. Be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people." The teenagers took it and waved happily, promising to add it to their growing collection. Lucy watched them go, feeling warmed by the knowledge that her small notes were branching out, inspiring new ways for people to support one another. On her walk home that night, Lucy breathed in the crisp autumn air, filled with the scent of dry leaves. She thought of how everything had begun: a plain white slip of paper from the register, a kernel of an idea from her grandmother's old notes, and a simple desire to spread kindness. It was remarkable how those everyday items had become gentle whispers of hope for an entire town. She remembered that day when she'd told Miss Alvarez she just wanted to do something good, never imagining it would ripple so far. Even with the knowledge of her impact, Lucy remained humble. Sometimes she worried she might run out of inspiring ideas to share, but inevitably a new person or interaction or even a brief snippet of conversation would spark a fresh thought for her notebook. There were endless ways to remind people of their worth, their potential, and the beauty of life, even in difficult seasons. Not long afterward, Lucy received a small envelope at the store. There was no return address, just her name printed in neat handwriting. She carefully opened it once she got home. Inside was a single piece of stationery with a short message. "Thank you for saving my life. Your receipt message was what I needed when I felt my hope was gone." There was no signature, no explanation beyond that. Lucy held the paper in her trembling hands, tears slipping down her cheeks as she realized the magnitude of that statement. She thought of every note she'd written. Perhaps it was the one that read, "Don't give up, your future is worth fighting for." Or maybe it was another. Regardless, a life had been changed, or possibly spared, because of a small message. In that moment, Lucy understood the heart of what she was doing in the most profound way. They were just words, but words could heal, inspire, invigorate, and provide a lifeline when someone felt a moment away from despair. That was the true power behind her receipts. Not the paper itself, but the unconditional love and belief in people that guided every phrase. It was remarkable how something so tiny, a faint line of text, had opened doors to deep conversations, renewed hope, and new beginnings for so many. Lucy woke the next morning, determined to keep going with even more fervor. She popped cheerfully into the store, greeting Miss Alvarez and her coworkers with bright eyes. There was an unspoken promise in the air. One receipt at a time, Lucy would keep sharing her messages, continuing the chain of positivity that had changed countless lives in ways big and small. Customers began framing the receipts. They'd post pictures of them on community bulletin boards. Gradually, local journalists caught wind of the phenomenon. They wrote small articles or included a brief mention in the newspaper's human interest section. Lucy didn't chase the spotlight, but if it meant more people might be reminded of their self-worth, she was grateful for the coverage. One Monday, Lucy read a snippet from the local paper. It was a short column stating, "For anyone seeking a bit of positivity, the new cashier at Sunrise Groceries has a way with words. It's changing hearts around town." Lucy smiled at the notion. She was the same Lucy she'd always been, just a talkative young woman who enjoyed brightening people's days. I guess that's enough to make a difference, she thought. And indeed, it was. At the store's register later that day, Lucy greeted her usual variety of shoppers. Some were in suits, some in hoodies, some in sweats, carrying everything from fresh vegetables to pet food to bouquets of flowers. She printed out the receipts, each containing her message for that day. Your life is a beautiful, unfolding story. Don't stop writing the pages. And as she watched people leave, tucking their receipts away like cherished keepsakes, Lucy felt her heart glow with gratitude. Because in a world so often overshadowed by worry, stress, and hardship, a little sunshine could be the gentle push people needed to keep going. She was proud to have found her unique way to give it. She finished her shift that evening, tired but fulfilled. As she was cleaning the register area, a woman approached her. She was tall, with a bright scarf and a purposeful stride. "I just wanted to say," the woman began, "that your messages have impacted my daughter's life. She's smiled more in the past month than she has all year. Thank you for inspiring her." Lucy felt tears prick her eyes again. She never seemed to run out of them nowadays. "Thank you for telling me," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. The woman squeezed her hand and left swiftly, her eyes glowing with quiet gratitude. Once the grocery store lights were dimmed for the night and the doors were locked, Lucy headed outdoors. The sky was painted with a brilliant peach and lavender sunset. She paused to admire it. Another day of sharing small words, creating big ripples. She clutched her purse, where she kept her grandmother's old diaries, the source of many of her uplifting quotes. If only her grandmother could see how far her little notes had come, all the lives they had touched. Lucy closed her eyes, feeling a surge of affection for the woman who first taught her the power of kind words. "Thank you, Grandma," she whispered into the evening air. The next day, and many days to come, Lucy would continue printing those short lines at the bottom of each receipt, messages that offered a small spark in someone's darkest hour, a bit of courage for the faint-hearted, or a congratulatory push for someone on the brink of a breakthrough. And through it all, Lucy never forgot the underlying truth she had discovered. When even one person dares to speak to hearts, those hearts speak back. And together, they begin to heal and uplift one another, one tender message at a time.